Hey there, hope everyone's having a great day. My name is James Lee. Welcome to 5149. It's a channel where I talk about business and politics from an independent perspective. Thanks so much for joining me today. A quick favor before we get going, if you end up enjoying this video, please take a second to give a like and share with a friend. Also, please consider subscribing to my channel if you haven't already done so and support independent media. All right, today the topic is Uber and Lyft. And quite honestly, I can't really think of a better example of late-stage capitalism than these two behemoths of the rideshare industry. Now, before I jump into the meat of the video, let's first get on the same page with what I mean by late-stage capitalism. The term late-stage capitalism, and the way I'm going to use it in this video, is to describe the hypocrisy and absurdities of capitalism as it digs its own grave, and to refer to the people's frustration with the indignities and absurdities of our contemporary economy, such as the increasing inequality, the shrinking middle class, and the rise of the super powerful corporations. Now that we're all aligned there, in this video I'm going to cover Uber and Lyft's exploitation of their drivers, something that we all know a lot about, but also the sham behind their business model and what that means for our ultra-capitalist society going forward. A quick side note, most of the examples that I'm going to use is from Uber, but the two companies pretty much operate in the same way. Okay, so first, the exploitation of their drivers. This has been well documented, so I won't spend too much time here, but I think it's clear to me and pretty much everyone else that they are literally just trying to skirt as many labor laws as possible and refusing to classify their drivers as employees when they clearly function as one, while simultaneously putting out dishonest op-eds like this one written by Uber's CEO in the New York Times, pretending that he cares about his gig workers. Let's just keep it 100% real. They do not care about their workers. Just look at Uber's most recent investor presentation. They are banking on autonomous vehicles to bring them to profitability. The drivers were never a part of the plan, just people to toss aside once they're no longer needed. So that part we all know about, but I got some bad news for investors as well. You're getting duped. Although I don't really mind, because hey, if you want to gamble based on some sort of grandiose vision or charisma, that's kind of up to you. But to me, the entire path to profitability Uber and Lyft espouses complete sham. Let me explain. Let's go back to Uber's most recent investors presentation. They state that their path to profitability hinges on autonomous vehicle technology and claim that they hope to achieve profitability by 2021. Good luck with that. And they also throw in there that 25% is the long-term profit margin they hope to achieve. They're basically banking on the economics that autonomous vehicles will reduce their operating costs, which totally makes sense because if you replace drivers with robots, there's no health insurance, there's no benefits, higher efficiency, so let that money flow in. Now, let me tell you why that doesn't work and why they will never achieve anywhere near the profitability they claim. The major problem that Uber and Lyft cannot escape is the fact that they operate in a commodity business, meaning that their service is pretty much identical to one another. It doesn't really matter if I get into an Uber or a Lyft. The experience for me is pretty much the same. And economics dictate that with commodity products, the profit margins almost always migrate to levels just barely above the marginal cost to provide the product. Think of this, a can of corn. A can of corn is just a can of corn. There's not much different whether it's from one brand versus another. So that's why canned corn is like $1 in the supermarket. They have no other choice but to use price to compete. Uber and Lyft, while it's totally different than a can of corn, is not that much different in terms of economics. And based on a recent study, even in the most profitable cities like San Francisco, the contribution margin of Uber and Lyft is only around 10%. So let's say they reduce their costs significantly by switching to self-driving cars. That would theoretically increase their margins, except that they would still need to compete for each other for customers. And if the only lever they can pull is price, that means the best margin they can hope for in the future is perhaps going to be around that 10% number and not this 25% number that they're touting to investors. Now, out of curiosity, let's take a look at who those investors are. Of course, it's the famous SoftBank Vision Fund, the fund where the investment thesis is not based on any sound economics, but rather on the charisma of the founders looking to disrupt a major industry. Yeah, that's worked out pretty good for them so far. But to be fair to Uber and Lyft, they clearly state all this in the fine print. This is from Uber's latest financial report. We have incurred significant losses since inception, including in the United States and other major markets. We expect our operating expenses to increase significantly in the foreseeable future, and we may not achieve profitability. We will require additional capital to support the growth of our business, and this capital might not be available on reasonable terms or at all. So what they're saying is, we've lost a bunch of money, we'll definitely lose more money, so we need to borrow more and borrow at horrible interest rates, and we might never be profitable. What an insane business proposition. And yes, all this is laid out in their 10K. You just got to go read it. So Uber and Lyft, not only are they exploiting their drivers, but also they're duping their investors to the tune of billions of dollars. If this does not describe the hypocrisy and absurdities of capitalism as it digs its own grave, I don't know what does. And now just to wrap up on a positive note, seems like I'm doing a lot of this recently, but it's been making me feel more hopeful in these dark times. And we all need a little bit of hope to keep fighting. Anyway, this erosion of investor profitability is perhaps an indicator that a more balanced economic system could rise from the ashes of this unchecked greed that we've seen here in America in the last half century. A new system that could potentially include an expansion of basic societal benefits, things like universal basic income and universal health care. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please take a moment to hit that like button and share this with your friends and family if you enjoyed it. Also, please subscribe if you haven't already done so we can take back our media. I'd really, really appreciate it. My name is James Lee. I'll be back next week with more. And as always, thank you for your time.